The X-Files premiered in 1993 when television was dominated by sitcoms and crime procedurals. Few expected a spooky drama about aliens, government conspiracies, and the paranormal to last more than a season. But viewers connected deeply with Fox Mulder, the believer, and Dana Scully, the skeptic. Their chemistry, along with the show's blend of horror, mystery, and emotional undercurrents, turned it into a phenomenon. Today, decades later, The X-Files remains a touchstone for fans who still want to believe. Let's look at 30 behind-the-scenes facts that illuminate what made this series so special. 1. Anderson nearly recast early. Did you know that Gillian Anderson was almost replaced early on, mainly because some network executives fretted she wasn't glamorous enough for television? It sounds unthinkable today, given how iconic Dana Scully became. But in those early months, the show's fate was on shaky ground, and so was Anderson's. Ultimately, creator Chris Carter held his ground, convinced that Anderson's intelligence and natural presence would shine through. He was right. Over time, viewers connected deeply with her skeptical scientist who had a keen eye for evidence, and ironically, that very down-to-earth vibe became one of the show's biggest selling points. Second, show risked big in 1993. The X-Files premiered in 1993, during an era dominated by sitcoms, cop dramas, and soap operas. A creepy sci-fi series about aliens, government conspiracies, and the paranormal seemed risky. Yet Chris Carter pitched it confidently to Fox, hoping to tap into the public's fascination with UFOs. At first, ratings were modest, but as episodes piled up, word of mouth spread. People who loved eerie tales and cryptic mysteries found a home in Mulder and Scully's world. By the end of its first season, The X-Files had transformed into a cult phenomenon, with fans eagerly dissecting each new episode. 3. Vancouver gave it gloom. The show was originally set to film in Los Angeles, but Carter decided to shift production to Vancouver. The reason? Tax breaks, plus Vancouver's foggy forests and perpetual drizzle. That moody weather gave the series its trademark gloomy atmosphere. Cast and crew recall trudging through endless rain, joking that it might as well be an ongoing cameo. Before long, that forested gloom became an essential part of The X-Files. When the show eventually moved back to L.A. in later seasons, some fans lamented the loss of that eerie Vancouver vibe. 4. Duchovny had Ph.D. plans. David Duchovny, who portrayed Fox Mulder, had an academic background in English literature. In fact, he once considered getting a Ph.D. This scholarly streak helped him portray Mulder's introspective side, someone who believed deeply in conspiracy theories, yet approached them with a quiet, methodical curiosity. Duchovny admits he was at first skeptical about all the paranormal elements in the scripts, worried it'd get campy. But seeing how seriously Carter and the writers treated the material, he realized The X-Files aimed higher than typical sci-fi fare. 5. Anderson cast at just 24. Gillian Anderson was just 24 when she landed the role of Dr. Dana Scully. The network felt she was too young and not glamorous enough, but Chris Carter insisted she was perfect for the intellectual, no-nonsense skeptic. Anderson's subtle acting quickly won people over. Scully's skeptical approach balanced Mulder's wild theories, anchoring the show in a believable science-based perspective. Without that tension, The X-Files might have been a run-of-the-mill monster series rather than the layered drama it became. 6. Pilot filmed on low budget. The pilot was filmed on a shoestring budget in the Vancouver rain, using leftover sets and minimal special effects. Carter's main aim was to capture the eerie unknown. The opening shot of a teenage girl vanishing in a swirl of leaves showed that The X-Files would not rely on big spectacle, but on evocative atmosphere. That moody approach impressed executives enough to greenlight a short first-season order, though few expected the show to explode into the pop culture juggernaut it eventually became. 7. Pregnancy led to abduction arc. Anderson learned she was pregnant during the first season. The writers scrambled to hide her pregnancy in cleverly staged shots, lots of Scully behind desks or wearing bulky coats. They also wrote an abduction storyline to accommodate her time off, letting viewers believe Scully's disappearance was part of the larger alien conspiracy. This twist inadvertently amped up the show's mythology. Fans, seeing Scully vanish, grew even more curious about the show's central mysteries, never realizing it started as a scheduling fix. 8. Theme music was accidental. The iconic theme by composer Mark Snow came about almost by accident. Snow tinkered with his synthesizer, stumbling upon an echo effect that produced that haunting whistle. Carter heard it and exclaimed, "That's it!" That eerie melody soon became the haunting signature of late-night TV watchers. People sometimes found themselves humming or whistling it in the dark, scaring themselves silly. 9. Smoking Man hated fake cigs, the cigarette. Smoking Man, portrayed by William B. Davis, smoked herbal cigarettes on set, not tobacco. He hated them, calling their taste revolting. In real life, Davis was never a smoker, so the job required him to puff away at these fake cigarettes to maintain the character's chain-smoking mystique. Interestingly, Davis was also an acting teacher who disliked the idea of smoking at all, making the role both physically unpleasant and ironically well-suited for him. 10. Lead duo clashed but clicked. Duchovny and Anderson had undeniable on-screen chemistry, though behind the scenes they occasionally butted heads. Long hours in the damp Vancouver climate wore them down. They respected each other's craft, but it wasn't all buddy-buddy. They described their relationship as akin to siblings, supportive but prone to bickering. Despite rumors of real animosity, both insisted their occasional spats came from exhaustion, not genuine dislike. Over time, they settled into a steady working rhythm. 11. Rain shaped entire tone. That constant Vancouver rain wasn't just a set dressing. The region's drizzle was so consistent that some episodes had to work it into the storyline. Umbrellas or puddles became normal props. Even the show's lighting strategies changed to exploit those waterlogged environments. Carter loved how the gloom made every alley or forest clearing feel like a potential alien encounter site. 12. Skinner was a surprise hit. Mitch Pileggi, who played assistant director Walter Skinner, initially auditioned for a Monster of the Week part, some menacing creature. But casting directors saw his stern gaze and realized he'd be perfect as an FBI authority figure. Over time, Skinner evolved from a minor background presence into a major ally, occasionally risking his career to aid Mulder and Scully. Pileggi's stoic performance and imposing build lent credibility to a role that balanced on a tightrope between loyalty to the Bureau and empathy for the X-Files team. 13. Monsters helped draw newbies. The Monster of the Week episodes were essential to keep the show approachable for casual viewers. From fluke-like humanoids living in sewers to telepathic killers, these standalones let the writers run wild with creative horrors. This variety prevented the show from drowning in a single storyline, giving new watchers a chance to jump in without getting lost. Meanwhile, dedicated fans devoured them for glimpses of the show's broader conspiracy. 14th Mythology arc sparked obsession. That conspiracy arc was the real hook for long-term viewers. Each season peeled back layers of government secrets, alien abductions, and shadowy syndicates. Carter carefully rationed out reveals, making sure fans were never fully satisfied. This approach, known as the mythology arc, spawned countless fan forums and speculation. People wrote theories late into the night, analyzing every phone call, every cryptic line from the smoking man, hoping to crack the code. In many ways, it was an early form of internet fandom mania. 15th Cast struggled with burnout. The hectic production schedule led to cast fatigue. Duchovny once joked he forgot what sunlight was after months of night shoots. Anderson similarly recounted near-endless weekends spent learning lines rather than relaxing. Yet they both recognized the show's popularity soared because of that intense work ethic. The audience could sense the devotion behind each shot, whether it was a high-stakes chase through a forest or a quiet moment of Scully rationalizing a bizarre case. 16th. Guest stars flooded in. Guest stars leaped at the chance to appear. The X-Files cameo list reads like a who's who of the 90s and early 2000s. Ryan Reynolds as a teen in a single scene, Lucy Lawless in a short arc, even the comedic cameo of Alex Trebek as a man in black. Each guest added a fun twist, sometimes comedic, sometimes chilling, but always leaving fans intrigued by how the show blended the famous and the unknown. 17. Boyle won Emmy for psychic role Clyde Bruckman's Final Repose, featuring Peter Boyle as a reluctant psychic, is often cited as a high point. Written by Darren Morgan, it tackled fate, death, and the question of predestination. The script's blend of tragedy and comedy earned the show its first Emmy for writing. Boyle's performance was both heartbreaking and hilarious, a shining example of how The X-Files transcended mere monster stories to probe deeper existential questions. 18. Comedy episodes broke tension. Over time, the show developed a pattern. One comedic or quirky episode would appear amidst heavier arcs, offering viewers a breather. These comedic episodes, penned by writers like Morgan or Vince Gilligan, included absurd premises like a shape-shifting Amish community or a trio of bumbling conspiracy geeks known as the Lone Gunmen. Fans adored them, calling them palate cleansers in the midst of the gloom. The cast enjoyed filming them, too, letting them break from serious expressions to indulge in comedic timing. 19. Scully scenes took emotional toll. Gillian Anderson wrestled with emotionally intense scripts, especially those involving alien abduction or Scully's near-death experiences. She once admitted that filming a scene where Scully thinks she's about to be experimented on left her shaky for days. The show's ability to weave real emotional stakes into supernatural plots is part of what made it so compelling. There was always a sense that the horror had real consequences for these characters' souls. 20. Duchovny read real UFO lore. David Duchovny's personal fascination with UFO lore grew as he portrayed Mulder. He joked that if anyone was a believer in the show's premise, it might be him, though he never declared himself a full-on UFO fanatic. Still, co-stars noted how he'd occasionally rid up on famous alien sightings, using them as small talk on set. It added another layer to Mulder's earnest belief in extraterrestrial life. 21. Black oil creeped out actors. The black oil storyline, a creepy black goo that could possess humans, arose from Carter's desire for a tangible sign of alien influence. The special effects team used a thick, dyed substance that left actors feeling icky. Early tests had them spitting out black saliva, which gave the crew a collective shudder. Actors nicknamed it the Tar of Doom. For many fans, the black oil became an iconic symbol of the show's cosmic dread. 22. Mulder left, Doggett stepped in. By season 7, Duchovny yearned for fewer appearances, feeling Mulder's narrative arc was nearing a natural end. Contract disputes ensued, culminating in Mulder's abduction storyline, which let Duchovny step back while still appearing sporadically. Into this void stepped Agent John Doggett, Robert Patrick, and Agent Monica Reyes, Annabeth Gish, hoping to keep the dynamic alive. While they gained some loyal fans, many viewers missed Mulder's presence, and ratings began to slip. 23. The first X-Files film, released in 1998, was shot between seasons 5 and 6. Juggling film production alongside a weekly TV schedule was grueling. The cast joked they never knew if they were filming a show scene or a movie scene. The film tried to bridge the Season 5 finale and Season 6 opener, delving deeper into the alien virus storyline. Reception was mostly positive, though some critics felt it still played like an elongated episode. Fans, however, relished the bigger budget and wider scope. 24. Scully-inspired women in STEM. The show's portrayal of science was more nuanced than many typical TV dramas. Scully, as a medical doctor, demanded rational explanations. Her lines often used real scientific jargon, leading some actual scientists to praise her as a rare, serious female scientist on TV. Others found certain episodes oversimplified or took liberties with known science. Nonetheless, Scully remains a cultural icon. So many women in STEM cite her as an inspiration for pursuing careers in biology, medicine, or forensics. 25th. Feud rumors were overblown. Rumors of on-set friction between Duchovny and Anderson floated around for years. They both admitted they weren't best friends initially, but emphasized that the tension mostly came from exhaustion. Over time, they learned to appreciate each other's rhythms. In fact, they often teased each other in interviews, poking fun at the media's obsession with their supposed feud. By the time the show ended, they'd formed a bond akin to siblings, not always in sync, but protective when it mattered. 26. Fans built early online fandom, the X-Files, the show's devoted fan base, were early pioneers in online fandom. They built forums to swap theories on the smoking man's identity or dissect Scully's abductions. They wrote fan fiction, organized watch parties, and even orchestrated campaigns to keep the show alive. This wave of digital fan interaction was a sign of things to come, foreshadowing how future series like Game of Thrones would harness the Internet's community-building power. 27. 2002 finale left questions. The series ended its original run in 2002 after 9 seasons. Carter felt they'd explored the conspiracy enough, though many fans were left with lingering questions about colonization and alien-human hybrids. Some watchers found the last season scattered, particularly with Mulder's reduced presence and Scully juggling a new partner. In a final attempt to provide closure, the 2008 film The X-Files, I Want to Believe, arrived 6 years later, though it sidestepped much of the alien mythology in favor of a standalone thriller. 28th. Revivals split fans and critics. In 2016 and again in 2018, the show returned for brief revival seasons. Reuniting Mulder and Scully after so many years was a nostalgic thrill for longtime fans, but critics were split. Some episodes captured the old magic, while others felt out of step with modern TV standards. Nonetheless, these seasons gave closure to fans who wanted to see Mulder and Scully tackle fresh conspiracies in a post-internet, post-9/11 world. The show's final note left the door open for more, though it also gave a sense that the era of the X-Files might finally be winding down. 29th. Paved way for genre TV. The X-Files paved the road for shows like Fringe, Stranger Things, or even Supernatural, proving that a mix of standalone monster tales and overarching mythology can thrive on mainstream TV. It also showed networks that audiences would happily follow a more serialized approach if the characters were engaging. The show's willingness to blend horror, drama, and comedic breaks, like those beloved Darren Morgan episodes, proved TV didn't need to stay in narrow categories. 30. Mulder-Scully dynamic lives on. What makes The X-Files endure is the dynamic between Mulder, the believer with a tragic backstory, and Scully, the rational doctor who demands proof. Their constant push-pull resonates because it mirrors a universal human tension, the desire to believe versus the need to see evidence. That's why, years after the final credits rolled, fans still gather at conventions, rewatch favorite episodes, and pass the show along to younger relatives. Mulder and Scully's quest for truth, through aliens, shapeshifters, and shadowy men in suits, remains a timeless reflection on curiosity and faith. Looking back, it's almost miraculous that a paranoid, moody show about aliens gained such a massive mainstream following. Yet, The X-Files tapped into something primal. Our awe at the unknown, our suspicion that powerful forces lurk behind everyday appearances. It also gave us two captivating heroes who mirrored our own inner debates about what's real and what's beyond our grasp. Behind the scenes, the cast endured freezing rains, punishing schedules, and creative clashes. But all that chaos yielded a singular piece of television history. We still talk about Scully's unwavering logic, Mulder's unwavering belief, and the times they swapped roles just enough to keep us guessing.